Waiting for it to load. Okay, hello guys. Sorry, just a little delay. I am currently hiding from my dogs, so I can do this. So today we're going to be talking about crate training. Um, Crate training, pretty simple. It's, again, just like so many of the other things that we're doing. It just takes time for the dog to get comfortable being in a crate. A crate can be anything like this wire crate here. It can be the plastic hard shells that you may see. And some dogs even have to be in a more sturdy crate because they break out of these wire crates. One thing I hear a lot from adopters is we don't want to crate our dogs, or it's cruel. And there's a lot of great articles about it online, but the biggest thing I always like to point out is, let me go to my next picture. It's a natural thing for a dog to want a den, a place to kind of go when they need a break. These are, I think, just wild dogs, sometimes that you'll see at the zoo. But animals, they want, like, especially dogs, they want that den. So the crate can provide that. It doesn't necessarily mean they have to be in that crate all the time. You can just keep the door open and allow the dog to go in and out. Some dogs just love to go and lay in there. It's just a little break from everything. A great example is what makes you feel more cozy in a house that has, think about in a house that has maybe like 10-foot ceilings, and then think about if you're in like a gym and how tall those ceilings are, and imagine like getting comfortable in the gym and then getting comfortable in your house. Which one would be easier? More than likely it's going to be the house, and part of the reason is because of lower ceilings and all that. It, for some reason, it gives us comfort. It makes us feel more protected and not as exposed. Versus like a gym where it's super open and wide. It's very similar for animals. Having that lower ceiling helps them feel a little bit more protected. There's not as much of an area, something bad that can happen. It's just a natural thing for animals to feel that way, just like with us. That's why long time ago, or way long ago, I don't even know the years, we would stay in caves and stuff like that, and then eventually we started making houses and huts and stuff like that. So it's very same with dogs. It's not cruel. The only time it could ever be cruel is if you're keeping the dog in there 24/7, but that is not what crate training is. Crate training is providing them a place to be able to to take a break if they're stressed, or if they just want to get away from the craziness of your house, if you have kids running around, whatever it is. And it's also a safe place to keep them whenever you leave the house during the day. One thing I always like to mention is if you have multiple dogs, it's really, really important to keep those dogs crate trained, because even though they may have been fine for years together, all it takes is one thing to happen, and if they got in a fight when you leave, the consequences could be deadly. I've seen that. Like, I can't remember what TV show it was. This guy had his two dogs loose for years, and I think that when they were on, like, he had them for 8 years, and then when he came home, one of them was dead, and they had a fight when he was gone, and that had never happened. But things can change. Who knows? There could have been a car going by and the exhaust popped, and that startled one of them and started something. So I really, really want to stress it's important to have your dogs crated when you leave, just to provide safety for them. And another good thing is, if you're able, I always recommend, especially because if we live in the Midwest with tornadoes, is if you're able to put one crate up in your bedroom and then one crate down in the basement, and crate them when you leave in the basement, just in case there's ever a tornado and you're not here. They're safe in the basement in that crate. The reason it's nice to have the crate in the bedroom is because sometimes dogs don't want to, if they sleep with you, they don't always want to be on the bed, and that's a good opportunity for them to go in. If you do want them to not sleep on the bed, that's another good spot for them to go and have their own little area. So, crate training. There's all kinds of different things to go with it. The first thing is always make it a positive, rewarding experience. So feed your dogs in there, make it comfortable. If they're getting a bone for the day, put it in there. Kongs, which we've gone over in the past few weeks. Katie's done a few things on those. Anything, just always make it a rewarding experience. It should never be a negative experience. So you could smear peanut butter on the bars and let them lick it. Just make it fun. Never make it like a big punishment. So here this dog is just eating its food. So how do you actually get to where they are comfortable in there? So we've done a lot of videos in this past couple weeks. One, if you watch the place command, learning to wait, all those different commands, you can find that all for the crate training. In the video I did with the place is I actually showed how I use that place command for the crate for my dog Chapo. So you can do the same thing. It's just about making them know that that's a command for them to go in their crate. You can use whatever term you want. Go back and watch that video and you'll see what I'm talking about. For him, I say go home, and that means he has to go in there. While you're getting them desensitized to being in there with the door closed, you want to do a method with distance and duration. What that means is you're just going to keep them in there for a short period of time, and you walk a little bit further away. And then you go back and let them out. Then you go back and put them back in, and then you increase that distance and you increase the duration. And you keep, and if you go back and watch that body language video I did, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, and I can put that in the comments again. It's also, all the videos are in the events, past events. That gives you a good idea to see how the dog's handling being in there. And you want to make it a positive thing. So increase that distance and duration if their body language looks good. If it looks like they're starting to panic, then maybe go back a step, maybe decrease the distance duration. And you just keep doing this over and over. It's a really good time to practice this since we're all home right now. This is also what you do with separation anxiety when dogs have panic when you leave. But this is a perfect time to work on it. And one big thing that they're talking about is whenever we go back to work, some of our dogs might panic because they're so used to being here. So definitely practice this still while you're home, just to keep them better equipped whenever you leave. So for some dogs, they absolutely cannot be crated. That's called confinement anxiety. They absolutely panic. There are things you can do to work with that. I talked about that in the separation anxiety slideshow and talked about some meds and different crates and methods you can try. So go back and watch that if you're really struggling with that. Some dogs are just escape artists. A really easy trick is on these wire metals corners. You want to put zip ties just so they can't bend it up and get out, because if you've ever messed with these when they're just kind of in their natural, not natural state, when you're putting them up, the door can go back and forth pretty easily, not the door that you want to close. So if you put zip ties around the corners and around the edges of them, it just makes it a little bit sturdier. Some of the dogs might try and figure out how to get out, but that's what those are for. So again, crate training is just, it's very simple. It's just about making a positive experience and then doing that distance duration method, which we also showed in the place video earlier. So if you have any questions or if you're struggling with it, let me know. I can let you know if it sounds like it's just they're being stubborn or if it's something a little bit more serious, maybe crate confinement anxiety or separation anxiety, and I'm more than happy to help. But that's all I have for today, and let me make sure I can